Hey everybody, welcome back to the View from the Top podcast. This is Inigo. How we doing? I wanted to do a video today. I've been doing a bunch of reading over the weekend, so I wanted to do a kind of short history of ISISK or ISIS-K um, in Afghanistan, who they are before the media um, portrays them in their own way. I have seen some decent articles that have come out giving, at least providing some context and, at least stating that, ISIS-K and the Taliban are not allies at all. And, this might not be taken to heart by a lot of the boomercon right wingers online who just want to blame everything on Biden, and they haven't learned anything in the last 15 years about who's who on the ground. Um, but they have been at least acknowledging that, because I think the plan was to re-ally with the Taliban against these more radical extremist groups, and also keep putting pressure on Pakistan and China to the east, with you know keeping some type of control over Afghanistan. So to get started, I mean, we have the news this morning that there was a U.S. airstrike in Kabul, on a car and a apartment building, that drone strike that has killed a couple suicide bombers allegedly, and a child or two as civilian casualties of the attack. Um, so it seems like the threat of more attacks in Kabul will continue. And as we get into the history of them here, you'll see that this has been going on for the better part of half a decade. So ISIS-K, or ISIS, the Islamic State in Khorasan, Khorasan being a a term for, and I'll zoom out here, this part of Asia. So you Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, things like this area is. So this would be where this group operates. Um, so they are mostly held up in what is called the Nangarhar province of eastern Afghanistan, which borders Kabul to the west, with Jalalabad as its provincial capital, and to the east, you have Pakistan, and the Peshmerga area of um, western Pakistan, with the Khyber Pass, which is up here. Um, so this is, the tribal mountainous areas from in Obama's drone war years of 2010, 2011, leading up to the Bin Laden raid, where he became the drone king, where they were flying drones around the tribal region of northern Pakistan, bombing people with nothing but cell phone megadata, and it really became, a headline story in the United States. So that's the area. So around 2014, 2015, we had the creation of ISIS, and shortly after, ISIS declared that they had a branch in Afghanistan called the ISIS Islamic State in Khorasan. It's been mostly made up of, in the beginning, um, ex tribal members of the Pakistani Taliban, which better name is the Tariqi Taliban. So there is a Taliban group in Afghanistan, which we know about, and there's a Taliban group in Pakistan called the Tehiki Taliban. And they work together, but they also are rivals. So, for example, the Pakistani government, through their intelligence services, ISI, in the past has funded, and they might still be, funded the Afghani Taliban to keep the United States and their central government of Afghanistan, um, you know, decent, you know, on its heels, I guess you could say, demobilized. And the Afghani central government has in the past funded the Tehiki Taliban, which in Pakistan, fights against the government there, and hides in the hills and the mountains, just like they do in Afghanistan. So this splinter group that eventually, in late 2015, 2016, declared its allegiance to ISIS, prior to that, had different names, and they were escaping Pakistani government raids, in the western part of that country into the eastern part of Afghanistan. So, in the beginning, they were seen as guests of the Afghani government, welcomed into the country to almost come in as settlers with their families and live in this mountainous region, um, east of Kabul. Um, they began like any other government or gang, controlling the areas they moved into, requiring payment, recruiting young men into their ranks, and there were squabbles between different factions. Um, as time went on, they became a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger for their britches, and they began attacking the Afghan central government and the Taliban itself. Um, declaring them, co-conspirators with the Americans or the Pakistani government. You know, focusing on a um, Islamic caliphate, not really interested in control more than chaos. But they were, and they do seem to be only focused on Afghanistan itself, ISIS K. They're not trying to come to America through the southern border and blow up DC, like these nut jobs on TV are telling us. Um, but again, these people moved in around 2010. I mean, that's 11 years ago, and they've been quietly, to American eyes, fighting with the Taliban and the Afghan, and sometimes the American government. As I said last week, at recently, 2019, 2020, the United States has been working with um, the Taliban through the central government to fight against this threat, because it's kind of expanded and shrank its popularity, because much like Al Qaeda in Iraq, they kind of overstay their welcome when they start. Um, First, they move in, as they did here. They chase out the Taliban, which the locals didn't like being under the control of the Taliban, who would just come in and require and take um, money and resources and people. They were in the beginning a lot more, I don't want to say friendly to the community, but kind of allowed people to live their lives before, again, they became more radicalized. They see themselves as Pashtun refugees, and this is why they were welcomed into the area. And again, as you get later on in the 20 teens, you see that they are becoming more and more responsible for attacks, not only near Kabul and this region, but also they have ranks and they have allied with groups in the northern part of the country near Kunduz or whatever, you can never pronounce it correctly, and Mazar Sharif. This part of the country being dominated by Tajiks and Uzbeks, right there, who have their own Islamic fundamentalist groups. The Islamic Republic, the Islamic State of Tajikistan. There's all different names for them, and I found a write up from the UN that kind of lays out the last couple of months to a year of what's been going on. So just I'll read from a small section here, and I'll link to this entire article. It's only 22 pages. This report from the UN, but we'll start here. There are a number of attacks claimed by ISIL-K for which the Taliban have denied responsibility. These include the May 12th, 2020 attack against the maternity ward in Kabul, August 2nd, 2020 against the Jalalabad prison complex, the complex attack of the Kabul University in November of 2020, a rocket attack in the Kabul city on the next day, or no, the 21st of November, and that targeted the highly fortified Green Zone and Presidential Palace, a rocket attack on 12/20/20 that targeted Hamid Karzai Airport, and all rocket attacks on Bagram Air Force Base on the 9th of April and the 19th of December 2020. So they've clearly been attacking the central government into Kabul and the American presence in the country. And now that the Taliban um, have moved in and they have become the government of the central um, part of the country, or the central command, they are now getting the full brunt of the attacks. Now that again, they've been fighting each other for years, but now that the Taliban have kind of taken control and the U.S. is on its way out, they seem a little bit more emboldened. During the first 4 months of 2020, the United Nations assistance mission in Afghanistan recorded 77 ISIS-K claimed and attributed attacks. Um, and this comes from an article titled "Killing of Human Rights Defenders, Journalists, and Media Workers in Afghanistan." The large increase in attacks for the first quarter of 2021 also corresponded to a similar increase in attacks by the Taliban during the same period. So they're clearly both fighting the same war against us at the time, but they are fighting each other at the same time. Overall, however, the number of ISIS-K attacks has continued to decrease annually, while 572 attacks were recorded between April 2019 and March 2020. The same period recorded 115, a decline of over 80%. So their numbers are waned to around 2,000 throughout the country. But the thing is, they're also allying with other groups. And then this gets into those groups, the foreign fighters throughout the country, as I was speaking about earlier, and the number that you have there. You can read through the history yourself, but it states the monitoring team continues to estimate a number of foreign terrorist fighters to approximately between 8 and 10,000, mainly compromised or comprised of individuals from Central Asia, the Northern Caucasus region of the Russian Federation, Pakistan, and the Uyghur Autonomous Region of China, among others. Although the majority are affiliated foremost with the Taliban, many also support Al Qaeda, and then some are linked to ISIS. So you have these different groups. And like I said, in the north part of the country, we have what they call themselves, if I can find it in here, Eastern Turkestan Islamic Movement. You will have the Turkestan Islamic Party. In Uzbekistan, you have your own. Um, and these, yeah, and they, again, they operate. Here you go, the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, and they operate in the northern part of Afghanistan. So if the U.S. is going to continue its anti-insurgent, anti-terrorism mission, now that we've had this terrible attack in Kabul, it's going to be focused around Kabul and the northern part of the country, and then Nangarhar, which are regions that the Americans have never been able to really control for obvious reasons. And this is why we've been stuck there. And we will continue to be stuck there if we decide to stay. And let's see. Um, so I just wanted to give you a background because, the media is not gonna give you this type of detailed information on who we're fighting, why we're fighting them, where they came from, and so again, they are a uh, they are a creation, for lack of a better term, of the U.S. Policy, foreign policy in the region. The drone program in the border region of Pakistan and Afghanistan, um, along with support, the supporting of the Afghani government, the attacks against the Taliban, and just the occupation of the country swells their ranks. And us being on the ground will do nothing but continue to keep them alive, um, as their influence will most likely grow from these attacks, not shrink as it has been previously. Okay, so that's it for the day. I just wanted to give you um, that little rundown on who they are. Read through the links if you want to get a deeper dive into them. I mean, I went pretty deep today, but some of these, some of my sources, this is a very short. I mean, this is only one section of this document. It is about ISIS-K, but I have other sources that I'll link, from an Afghan studies group, that has a very, very long archive of documents going back, um, and documenting everything about this group, leaders, battles, wins and losses, numbers, going back all the way to 2010. So you can kind of read the entire history of the group leading up to last week, so you can get a kind of a complete understanding of where and why they're there and what they're doing and who and all that fun stuff. Okay, so until next time, this has been Inigo, View from the Top podcast. I'm going to try to do a couple more videos this week, see what the topics come up. The COVID stuff continues to, I don't know, what's the word, evolve, with new studies coming out of Israel, um, you know, making a conspiracy theorist from 2 weeks ago right once again, which has been the recurring theme for the last 18 months. So I might get into that a little bit. If I do have any of those videos, you'll find those over on 3Speak, not on YouTube. So the best way to get those is to follow the blog, View from the Top, on WordPress, or just follow me on Twitter at Inigo Hill, and you'll find links there. I'm not going to deal with YouTube's. It's too much work to post a video, go back to my normal life, and come back to find that it's been taken down for quote unquote medical misinformation. So anytime I'm talking about the cough, I'll do it on a alternative uh, streaming or hosting site. All right. So again, I appreciate you guys taking some time. Check out the links. Take if you're like me, this is the kind of stuff you enjoy reading. I enjoy being educated in who and what and why. So it kind of takes the emotion and the anger out of these attacks when they take place, because you understand who's to blame, who to listen to, who's right, who's wrong, who's accurate, who knows what they're talking about. And it feels good on some weird level to have um, some type of knowledge base. Um, as an American, the reason that they're allowed to continue these wars is mostly because of our ignorance. And if we can cure ourselves of that, they're not really going to be able to pull the wool over our eyes much longer. All right. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.